All right, so the first thing I'm gonna start off with is the imager because I like to tame the track. I don't want my bass or the low end to be wobbly, and I don't want it to be too wide where it just thins out all of my drums. So let's just pull up the imager. All right, so as you can see, it has different frequency bands that you can solo. What I wanna do is solo the low end and see if it's in mono. As you can see, it's fairly in mono, but what I would like to do is just bring it in just a bit more. All right, so now we can take off the solo. So for this track, it's pretty much wide. You don't have to like get too crazy with it because if it's too wide, then it really washes out your drums, like I said before, and that's not what we want for this mix. What we can do is pull up the mid and see if that makes a difference, you know, just to widen it just a bit. I like to exaggerate it first so I can hear what it's doing. Now we're gonna A-B it. And the way I like to A-B is just to focus on my rhythm, focus on the kick and the snare, and you'll be able to hear the subtle difference. So let's just do that. This is with it off. Just pay attention to the kick and the snare pattern. So what I'm hearing is that you could feel the bass a lot more. So that's good. Like I said, you wouldn't want to get too crazy with this because you're on a master. You don't want to mess with the frequencies too much. Moving on to the EQ. So a good rule of thumb is to like take off 20 hertz and take off 18 hertz. So what that all means is in the low end, a lot of people can't really hear down below 20 hertz. So it just really unwanted frequencies from there. And I will go to even 30. It just tightens up the mix a bit better. All right, so I'm gonna A-B it again. Remember to listen to the kick and the snare. Hopefully you can hear the difference. It just sounds a bit tighter. All right, moving on to the compressor. I actually swapped out the R compressor just in case you may not have that third-party plugin. So let's go in. The concept is still the same. What you want to do is you want to bring your ratio pretty high, bring your threshold pretty low, and bring your release low and your attack low. This is just so you can hear what the compressor is doing to your mix. So let's just hear it. So you probably can hear that little buzz and saturation or distortion that's coming from this compressor. It's because the release is very low and the attack is very low. And this is actually a technique people use on their 808s. Let's just bring up our release until we don't hear any buzz. So 300 is pretty good. And now we're going to focus on our punch with the attack. Remember, if your attack is too low, then it's really going to squash all the transients out of your mix. All right. And I'm gonna just bring this back up to 20 and bring the ratio down back to like 2 to 1. Very light compression. A/B it, remember we got a gain stage. And if you don't know how to gain stage, you could just watch my gain stage tutorial. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So pretty much we just gotta match what it was before the compressor. So let's just see what it was. 6 dB, so make sure we bring it back to 6 dB. All right. So follow the rhythm. So I can hear the difference. Hopefully you can too. But what I want to do is bring down the release more. It just seems like the release is too long. Yeah, that sounds a bit better to me. So moving on, this EQ is mainly for, you know, just to bring up anything that you want to excite in the mix. So as you can see, I just pulled up a bit in the 1000 range. So A/B it again. It just brought a more warmth feel to the piano. We could probably also bring up the highs. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then from here, you could actually just put any kind of saturation plugin that you want. And usually people like to use Sound Goodenizer. The only thing about Sound Goodenizer is just it doesn't have a gain knob, so I can't really A/B it well, but here it goes. So that's why I have it very low, just so that it stays within that range of 6 dB. Let's see if we can A/B it and hear it. I feel like it brings up more of the kick and the bass, so we could just leave it in. I'm just gonna pull it down a little bit more. And then we could just move on to the limiter. I like to use wave limiter. It just makes everything easier. I'm gonna make the output ceiling 2. And the reason why I put -0.2 is because usually there's a thing called ghost frequencies, and the peaks could go past -2, and then it could end up clipping your mix. If you had the ceiling all the way to -0 and those ghost frequencies just go through, it's definitely going to clip your mix. This prevents it a little bit better. And then you just bring it up to that point. Now, as far as knowing how far to go down, you just gotta hear it. You'll be able to hear if the kicks is being squashed or if anything else is just being way too compressed. You can look at the attenuation. You don't want too much. Just below 3, really. That sounds good to me. You can even push it a little bit further. And then I would just add a soft clipper just in case. Turn down the threshold. Bring up the post. And that's pretty much it. That's how I master my track. But also, I usually just use Ozone 8 and I just use the master assistance. From there, it will just, you know, master it by itself. And I have a tutorial on that as well. I'll leave the link in the description. And you don't have to worry about this plugin right here. This is just more for a reference for my headphones. So if you found this tutorial helpful, make sure you share with your other producer friends. And if you stay to the end, I actually have a free loop kit for you. So make sure you download that. I'm also have the link in the description.